So it is 2025, which means we have seen over 100 movies in 2024. So let's talk about our favorite ones.
Welcome back to the That Sure Was a Movie podcast, coming at you from 2025 now. And our last episode was in October of 2024, right after we said we were coming back. But we're back now, and we're here to talk about our favorite movies of 2024.
Yeah, we're sort of doing like a little soft launch of season two, roll it out like 3 months at a time. We'll have another episode out here in a few months, 6 months, a year, who knows? No, I'm
Yeah.
just kidding. I think we're back for now. Anyway, 2025, we had a little bit of a hiatus since our last Joker fiasco. Yeah, how's it going? How have you been since October? Watching movies,
Yeah.
watching TV, trying to survive our city from burning down.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was certainly something that occurred.
Yeah, good year. Good start to the year. Well, let's forget about 2025 and let's go back to 2024 because we had
Yeah.
we had an interesting year. Um 2023, 2022 were really, really good years for movies. And I feel like
Yeah.
this year felt like it was a bit of a step down. But when you
Yeah.
really look at it, 2024 is an interesting year because, in my opinion, it's not very top heavy. Like last year, we had some like really, really good ones, like 5 star, 4.5s at the top, like Oppenheimer, Past Lives, all those. This year didn't seem as strong near the top. But if I look through my rankings on my letterbox and all that, it's a really deep year. Like it's not has like doesn't have that many amazing movies, but if you go down to the very bottom of my list, I'm like, I enjoyed most movies that came out. Whereas like other years, it's like there's a lot of them that I just don't care for. But like I feel like all the way down to like 80s and 90s in my rank, it's like 3.5 stars, which is a positive score.
Yeah, I would say by the time I get down to, I think number 85 was my last three-star movie of the year out of 109 that I watched. So, like, there are a lot of three stars in there, but not too bad overall.
And a 3 out of 5 is still a positive score. So
Yeah.
let's see, where am I on this? If I go to the oh man, I got 2 pages worth on the desktop app. Anyway, so yeah, I got some
I know.
let's see. If I go to my very bottom, we've got we'll start at 91, I think is probably I at least enjoyed something of it.
Okay.
Even Madam Web, I'm not gonna lie, even Madam Web, I got something out of.
You know what? Actually, I need to change my ranking because I think Madam Web needs to be above some of these down here.
Yeah, I mean, it was not good. It's still a 2.5, which for me is like a movie that exists. There's nothing really positive, nothing really negative, or there's a lot of positive, but so much negative that it weighs it down, or so much negative that some of the positive brings it up a little bit. But we're not here to talk about Madam Web. We're about to talk about our favorite movies, which means the good ones. And
Hmm.
by favorites, I feel like we're not gonna do like these are the best, these are my rankings. We're gonna be like, I think for me, I'm going to talk about the ones that I feel like you should watch, you should check out, the ones that you're going to want to watch out for come award season, which is now. Um,
Hmm.
and some lesser talked about ones that I didn't like necessarily absolutely love, but still worth mentioning. So I'm just going to start off by saying my favorite movie of the year because that's why not? And it's not going to be a surprise. It is maybe to some people because we haven't talked about movies on the internet for like 2 years at this point. But anyway, Dune Part 2, best movie of the year
Mine is also Dune
by
Part 2.
far. It was untouched. It came out in March. Nothing even came close. Not
Yeah,
even
I think I
close.
kind of knew when it came out that I was like,
Yeah, that's not getting touched.
nothing's gonna top this. And
No.
even though I knew Wicked was coming out later in the year, I was like, it's not gonna be topping Dune.
No, Dune, I think genuinely, I think is one of the best movies ever made.
I would agree. Yeah.
And I'm not somebody who just has recency bias, especially saying stuff like that, because I don't really put stuff on my favorite movies of all time list unless I've seen it at least twice and I really think it deserves a spot. There's not many movies that have come out in the past 5 years on there. There's a couple. I think there's three I have. But Dune Part 2 deserves a spot. And you know what it deserves? It deserves more attention from all these voters who apparently have forgotten the movie exists because it came out,
Hmm.
what, 7, 8 months ago? 9 months
9.
ago. Yeah, it came out in March. So that's
Yeah.
apparently people can't remember that far back. So I think we should get some more some better voters who because it's getting snubbed. We'll talk about that in another episode, but
Yeah.
best movie of the year, like everything about it.
Yeah. It's the only movie that I have seen in theaters 3 times, which I didn't intend to see it 3 times, but that's just how the cookie crumbled. Um,
Yeah, it's I saw it twice. I saw it in IMAX first time and then I think Dolby. I think I saw it in Dolby.
yeah. I saw it in Dolby twice. I saw it in IMAX at the Indiana State Museum because they were playing it on 70 millimeter.
Hmm.
And seeing movies at the Indiana State Museum is really great too because they play the score in the theater before the movie starts and it just like sets the whole atmosphere and it's really great. But anyway,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
Dune is one of those like kind of like Joker. We talked about this in our Joker episode where it's not the 70 millimeter as like Oppenheimer was shot on IMAX film cameras, but it was
Hmm.
shot digitally and turned into printed on 70 millimeter and shown in a lot of IMAX theaters. But we talked about that already. If you want to hear more about that discussion, go back to our Joker episode.
Yes.
But yeah, Dune Part 2, like literally beautiful looking film, like the production design, cinematography, some of the
Hmm.
best I've ever seen. Like the production design was crazy. The practical sets too, a lot of it.
Yeah.
So the acting, you know what's really bothered me? Austin Butler was like predicted to be like the best supporting actor winner before the
Was he
movie came out,
actually?
and after the movie came out, they're like, "Oh yeah, he's winning." And now they're just like, "He doesn't exist." Like he was
Nothing from
so
this movie
good.
seems to be existing
He
from,
was so
you
good.
know,
Like
yeah.
I think Timothy Chalamet was one of the best performances of the year, but I can see why that wouldn't get a nomination. It doesn't really feel like a Oscar performance, but Austin Butler was crazy good
Yeah,
and just nowhere to be found. It's really unfortunate because, and you know
it
what's
is.
even
Yeah.
more maddening? That Hans Zimmer's not even qualified to be nominated because it's a
Tisk tisk.
sequel. But like John Williams can be nominated for every Indiana Jones and Star Wars movie back and
Literally.
over and over and over again when he's using
Yeah.
some of the same score, but mostly new music, which I'm defending John Williams too, because like he uses new music in each movie. So does Hans Zimmer. The scores are completely different. Like they use some of the
Hmm.
same parts, but like it's it's frustrating. I get so worked up about the Oscars every year. And I'm like, who cares? I hate the Oscars because they're stupid and I don't care, but then I care every year. But
Yeah.
anyway, we'll talk more about awards, Oscar stuff in our next episode, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
But I guess we can move on from that. Dune, best movie of the year, not even close, nothing even close.
Yeah. For me, my number two movie of the year was Wicked, which I know kind of was a mixed bag for some people, but overall, a lot of people were really loving it. Um, kind of shocked at how it's done so far this award season, which I know we'll get more into that in our next episode, but it's insane that we like finally got this movie because it's been just stuck in development since before either of us were even born, which is crazy. And now
Really, it's
it's
been
finally
that
like,
long?
well, because Universal had the rights to it before it was a musical, and then because it was a book before it was a
So they're gonna
musical.
adapt the book into a movie?
Yeah, and
Like it was
then
gonna be a musical movie, like a movie musical before the musical existed?
I don't know. I think it was just going to be a movie, and then
No.
they had been approached about making it. It was going to become a musical, and then they were like, okay, well, we'll adapt it from
Hmm,
there or whatever. But either way,
interesting.
I really loved it. I've loved Wicked since I was a kid. It's like the gateway drug of musicals, I guess. But yeah, I mean, like visually, the coloring definitely should have been better, and the lighting in some portions was really bad. But Ariana Grande is really amazing, and Cynthia Erivo is really amazing, and I really, really hope that Ariana Grande takes the Oscar over a certain other movie that shall not be named.
Yeah, we'll name it,
Um,
unfortunately, in our next episode. But we're
yeah,
here to talk about good movies, so we won't even mention it this time around. But yeah,
yeah,
Wicked, what a journey this movie has gone through, apparently. But
yeah.
it turned out to be a massive success.
Hmm.
Personally, it's not near my top, but it was definitely a good movie, definitely well made. Appealed to so many more people than I ever would have thought. People who
Yeah.
people who hate musicals who don't typically wouldn't even watch a movie like this. If they went and saw it, a lot of people loved it and have been converted to fans.
Yeah.
Um, see, I didn't know anything about Wicked. I love The Wizard of Oz, one of the best movies ever made, one of my favorite movies. But I didn't know anything about the musical just because I don't live in New York. I've never been to the show. Anyway, so I didn't know anything about it going in. I know I was excited to see Ariana Grande acting again in a huge movie because shout out to Cat Valentine Victorious, one of my favorite shows. Um, but yeah, the movie was it was cool. I didn't love it, like I said. I think the plot just wasn't strong enough for me, which it's not a problem with the movie because I mean that's the plot. But the some of the songs were good. I thought only like two of the songs I actually loved, but the rest were kind of forgettable. Three, I'd say three that I can think of. But the here's my I don't know if it's a hot take, but it's a take. I think the movie cast is better than the original Broadway cast.
I see, after what I've seen on the internet, I don't know if that's a super hot take.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the people who like grew up with Wicked and have loved it for years and years would probably have a hard time saying that. But as a newcomer, I don't know. I just think the voices I like better, which maybe it's just because Adina Menzel is just like Adele Dazeem is just like too associated with Frozen at this point in my mind. Or I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I like Ariana Grande a lot better than Kristen Chenoweth, and Cynthia Erivo I like a little more than Adina Menzel. After listening, I haven't seen the musical visually, so I can't speak to their performances, but I've heard the soundtrack. But I mean, both great, obviously.
Hmm.
But yeah, Wicked, what a surprise. I mean, it's really cool to see a movie like this doing well, I think, in
Yeah.
the masses.
Yeah. I'm really excited to see some snippets of part two whenever we get a trailer for that, which honestly I feel like could be the Oscars. Um,
I,
so they
whenever
said
they
they're not
say,
dropping it at the Super Bowl like they did last year.
yeah,
So
whenever
we'll
they
see.
say a movie is going, the part two is going to come out the next year or within a year, it never happens, especially nowadays.
I like to
So
have faith.
I do too. I want to have faith too. I'm just preparing myself for another delay because every movie's getting delayed, especially now that Los Angeles has been on fire for the
Oh,
past
you're so
2 weeks.
right.
So everything's already getting delayed. Uh,
Yeah.
so I would not be shocked if this gets delayed as well. But I mean, if it's releasing within a year, that means they shot it already, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it would just be post-production, which obviously that can be delayed too, because
Yeah.
again, Los Angeles is on fire. But hopefully things can be I don't know. We got a lot of delays recently, so I'm worried, but we'll
Yeah.
keep faith in Wicked Part 2 staying on its schedule.
I
But
hope so.
yeah. Okay. Here's some speaking of Wicked, Wicked's kind of like a I don't know, it's not like a cinematic achievement, but it's like a popcorn movie, as I like to say. Like you're just having a good time, enjoying it. You're not like it's not special like technically. And here's a movie that falls into that same category. And one of my favorite movies, probably my second favorite movie of the year, Twisters.
I
Let's
knew you
talk
were gonna say
about
Twister.
Twisters. Let's talk about Twisters. How long has it been since the first Twister? Was it a 90s movie?
90s?
Yeah, I think it was
I think it was
90s. So
90s, yeah.
about what, 30 something years later, we get another sequel. It's really fun, actually. A lot of these
Yeah.
this one's technically not a legacy sequel, as like some of them are called. I think legacy sequels like when they make a sequel years and years later, but it has one person from the original, like Top Gun or Scream,
Hmm.
soft reboots. I don't know, whatever we want to call it. But Twisters is a lot of fun.
Yeah,
One of the
especially
most
in
fun movies.
40X.
Oh my gosh. Saw this in 40X, not the first time. I would never see a movie from 40X for the first time, but
Yeah.
rewatching this in 40X with the wind, the water, the movement of the chairs spraying at you, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's wild.
We also saw this at 7 in the morning in 40X because that was
Yeah.
the only time it was available.
And you know what? At 7 in the morning, it was a packed house.
Yeah, it was. We were all laughing and having a great time.
Yep. Yeah, because they originally had it in 40X whenever it came out, but there's such a demand for it, so they added some more showtimes and they sold out so quickly.
Hmm.
And we had like four people with us, so it was hard to get four tickets together in 40X. But we got
Yeah,
them bright and early,
we sure did.
and it was a blast. But
Yeah.
to speak to the movie itself, it's just like a good, I don't know, it's a generic formulaic movie, which I think works to its favor. I think I actually mentioned this in our like Top Gun Maverick episode like 2 years ago. It's like it's very formulaic, which for some reason I like about it.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing like unexpected, but it's just well written, moves along well, fun, likable characters, Glenn Powell,
Always
twins.
a plus. Twins.
Um, we got twins, twins. Um, it's just so fun.
Yeah. Um, it was my number four of last year. Um, I love it a lot. I like it more than the original. Um, I thought the characters were better in this one, mostly
Mm.
because in the original one, Helen Hunt's character, like even after she went through this traumatic event with a tornado, she's like, "Yeah, we're gonna go chase this tornado. It's gonna be great. We're not gonna die, and it's gonna be awesome." But in this one, what was her name? Like Kate or whoever the main character was, like the trauma like actually impacts her, and she's like, "I don't know if I want to like do this anymore." So like I don't
Hmm.
die, and like other people don't die, and like I thought the characters in the story were a little bit better
Hmm.
in Twisters than in the original.
Yeah.
And all I gotta say is it made me want to go buy a cowboy hat and go to a Cracker Barrel.
Yeah. I mean, like buy a Ram truck and put on some country music. I mean, sign
Hmm.
me up. Drive to
Yeah,
Oklahoma, chase some tornadoes. It's like the way Top Gun Maverick was like military propaganda. This is storm chasing propaganda. It just makes you
like
want to
literally.
like do that and like become one of these
Yeah.
characters after, doesn't it? It's really cool. Something I want to mention in here's my review on Letterboxd that I wanted to point out, and well, we're actually having like a we need I think we need a disaster movie resurgence.
Yeah.
Keep it coming. Bring The Rock
We need
back.
that in
San
dystopian movies
Andreas
back.
2. Yeah, bring those back.
Oh
No,
gosh.
anyway, but I think they should keep going with Twisters. I think the order of the movies,
Oh God.
which they should be, is here's my I did 20 sequels. I wrote 20 sequels, titles. So we got Twister, we got Twisters, we got Twister Cubed, we got Twister Resurrection, we
Oh
got
my God, I forgot about this.
Prometheus, Twister's version. We got Twister Covenant, Twister Romulus, and then we're gonna do kind of another reboot, soft reboot. We got Twisting, Twisted, and Twist. That's maybe a trilogy right there. Twist and Shout, Twister, the musical. Twister Origins, Boone. Boone is one of the characters who is part of Glenn Powell's team. He was really fun. I think he should get his own spinoff. Twister Australia, Twister 14, Twister versus Hurricane, Die Hard, Twist Harder. Glenn Powell versus the big one. Glenn and Daisy. They kissed and T20. There
That
you
sounds
go.
like a promising future
There you
for the
have it.
Twister series right
I think
there.
you got a lot of potential here. They should capitalize off of it. I'm telling you. If you're listening, if any studio execs are randomly listening to That Show Was a Movie podcast, make me a producer.
Yeah. One thing that I will say that was interesting is it kind of felt like we were about to live in Twisters in the last week. And just watching the news coverage of the wildfires, and they're like, a fire NATO has broken out in the
Mhm.
Palisades. And we're like, we got twins.
There was a fire NATO in Twisters.
There was.
There was like a whatever a nuclear power plant explosion within a tornado, and
Yeah.
Glenn Powell saves the day. He
We
gets
should have
away.
just been doing a double feature of Twisters and San Andreas out here the last week.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Yeah. But anyways, that's Twisters.
mhm. I think there's one more I really want to talk about for me personally, and the rest I think I can do some like rapid fire mentions. But
Yeah.
The Brutalist is a 3.5 hour epic about an architect. And for me, it was insane in every way possible. First of all, it's got an intermission, which is really cool, actually, to see an intermission in a movie.
Yeah, I
If
like
it's
that a
a
lot.
3.5 hour movie with an intermission, it's kind of cool. I don't think it's not bad at all. But 3.5 hours, even if it didn't have an intermission, the intermission probably helped a lot. But this thing flew by. Like it is paced extremely well. And a lot of these 3.5 hour, over 3 hour movies lately in the past few years typically are paced really well. Like Killers of the Flower Moon. But yeah, The Brutalist, the visually, the script was great, the acting is incredible. I absolutely love this movie. And I think it's a front runner for Best Picture at this point. That with like four other movies, probably three other movies have a shot at this point. But
Yeah.
it was crazy. It was a really good movie. Cinematic. Most people probably won't like it, but I loved it.
Yeah, it was a 3.5 for me. I still like I I thought technically, like visually, the performances, everything like that, it was amazing. Um, but I just don't think like the story in general was for me. Um, Score was really great. Um, yeah, I don't know. The intermission definitely helped a lot. It felt like it flew by with having that, excuse me, that chunk of time in there, which they didn't start the intermission till 10 minutes in, so it was 25 minutes in between portions of the movie instead of 15.
Hmm.
Um, but my one grievance is I wish that I was just kind of annoyed with my theater experience for this one, unfortunately, because the person next to me kept whipping out their phone
Hmm.
every 5 minutes and it was just distracting. Um, but yeah, I definitely can see Adrian Brody winning Best Actor pretty easily. I think it's between him and Timothy Chalamet at this point.
Yeah, I think that's pretty
Um,
much it's gonna be one of those two. But Timothy is
yeah.
really putting on a campaign.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later. But
Yeah.
Guy Pearce was specifically really good in this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, The Brutalist.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what else I should mention. I don't know. I mean,
I have one more I want to talk about before we do like honorable mentions. But this is I guess kind of a hot take to with like what I've seen from people I follow on Letterboxd, but my number three movie of the year was A Complete Unknown. I gave it 5 stars. I really loved it, but a lot of people are just like, eh, with it, which
hmm.
is interesting. I don't know if it's because a lot of people just aren't into biopics, if we're getting too many of them and people are just kind of not interested in them anymore, or what it was that people didn't like about it, but I really loved it.
Well,
Um,
I can tell you a big complaint, which I think most people is the reason, is because it doesn't really dive into Bob Dylan as a person, and
mm,
people don't like that. They like you watch the movie and you don't really learn anything about Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
Um, for me, I agree with you. I think it was incredible, one of my favorites of the year. Um, they weren't trying, I mean, they knew what they were doing. They weren't trying to dive into him. They wanted to explore him as a musician, as an artist, and portray him through his music and not
Yeah.
really dive into him as a person. And I think a lot of, yeah, I can understand why people have an issue with that. But for me, I think the performances and the music and the directing is just so well done that I didn't really care. I was just having a blast listening to some music.
I know.
And it is
Yeah.
like there are scenes, like especially in the smaller scenes in the beginning where he's like in a small bar where he'd like be done performing and like I like almost like start clapping because I think I'm there, you know? And it's like, oh wait,
Yeah.
I'm in a movie theater. I can't like clap with these people. But
I think
yeah,
someone behind me did start clapping at one point.
yeah, it's like it was re a really weird experience. It was like I forgot where I was for a second. I was just so locked in. And Timothy, he is really good.
Yeah.
Really good. If you listen to the soundtrack, he's not going to sound exactly like Bob Dylan, but he does a good
Uh,
job. Very, very good performance. And the
yeah.
Oscars love their biopics, so we shall see how that goes.
Yeah. I
But yeah,
also really loved, oh, how do you pronounce her last name? Monica Barbaro as
Barbara, I
Joan
think.
Baez.
Yeah, she was
I
really
really
good.
loved her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really good. But
Um,
yeah, I as a person who does enjoy Bob Dylan's music, I thought it was great. I think a lot of people who don't even have never heard a song from Bob Dylan, I think can still like it. I think it's pretty universal overall and can appeal to many people.
yeah. I didn't know like that much about Bob Dylan. I'd heard a few songs before going into it and I still really loved it. So,
And the thing is like this only covers like what 10 years of his career. Like there's a whole
yeah,
like
if that.
some of his best songs like were made like 10 years after the end of this movie in the timeline. So yeah, it was really cool though. It was funny. Johnny Cash, every time he was on screen, it was just really funny to see. And just like it kind of felt like a Marvel movie where there's like a cameo and like they're teaming up and like there's a guy. And it's funny because James Mangold directed Walk the Line, the Johnny Cash movie.
Oh,
So,
that's funny.
but yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
He's making his own like MCU with
Yeah.
like 60s artists.
Yes. I mean, I'm down. I'm down. Bob
Yeah,
Dylan,
hey,
we
keep it
got
coming.
Joan Baez, we got Johnny Cash. Who else do we need? The Beatles just walk in randomly.
I want a Simon and Garfunkel biopic.
That'd be good. That'd be good. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know much about them personally and their lives. I don't know what if there's
I
much to
don't either,
explore.
but
But I
I
know they
love their
started.
music.
Yeah, I mean they started making solo music. So I don't even know. Do they have like a fallout or what? Or they just probably just
I don't know.
naturally end.
I was wondering about that
You know,
recently.
I don't know. Yeah,
But
it'd be
yeah,
interesting.
anyway, enough about Simon and Garfunkel. That's not what this podcast is about.
Yeah. But anyway, I think one more I really want to talk about is not in depth, but Anora was so much fun. One of the
Yeah.
funniest movies of the entire year, and seeing it with the sold out crowd was incredible. Like I haven't, there's one of the probably the most, yeah, definitely the most laughter in a movie from my theater audience this year for sure.
Hmm.
I think it was a ton of fun. Um, It was a Best Picture frontrunner and director and screenplay for a while and actress, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
It's definitely still up there, so I'm
It's gonna
rooting
be
for it.
interesting.
It's not my
Yeah.
favorite out of the stuff that's probably going to get into those categories, but for sure, Mikey Madison is by far the best performance of the year for me.
100%. Yeah.
Like, yeah. So we shall see.
We
I think
shall.
now we've talked about, I think the movies I think are really the strongest that I want to talk about in depth. But there's a lot, and there's so many good movies that I'm looking at my through my list right now that I want to talk about. But
Yeah.
um, Challengers, incredible.
Yeah.
That was another one that was a long time ago when that came out. I was
That
thinking
was a long
Pearl.
time ago.
But yeah. The substance. No, okay, okay, I gotta talk about the substance actually. This movie, one of the craziest experience of my entire life. Like I was sitting there watching this thing and I'm like, whoa, what is happening? And it just like the end, like it just keeps going and going. You think it's gonna end like five different times, and it's like, what? Which a lot of people didn't like the ending. I think the ending was probably the worst part of the movie, but I still really liked it. Um, like they went for something and they committed to it.
They
But
sure
if you
did.
don't know what the substance is basically if you want to, I guess, turn into a younger self and split yourself into two separate people where you'll spend a week at a time. So the real you will be alive for like a week, and then you switch off with your clone, I'll call it, for that week, and they live that 7 days or something. And it's a really, really cool premise for a movie. And like stylistically, like the style of it was really cool. Like the way it was shot, the way it was like edited. Just a really, really cool movie. And the performances in it were great. Dennis Quaid was every time he was on screen was hilarious. Him in his orange
Oh
suit.
God.
But yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I wish I had liked The Substance more than I did. Um, I thought one thing that was funny that I think you said you also did when you saw it was when Margaret Qualley's version of
Mm.
her the younger self or whatever says she's like on a talk show and she's like, "Yeah, I just came from a small town in Indiana." And we were both like,
Yeah,
and then
anytime
we're like, "Wait, no one has that reaction here because they're all from California or whatever."
anytime Indiana is like mentioned in a movie or anything, I'm like deer in headlights. I'm like, what?
Which has happened more often recently than, well, I guess not recently, but
I mean, I think every
like,
state probably gets mentions. You just don't think
yeah,
anything of the other ones because it doesn't mean anything to you. But
yeah.
but yeah, I mean, Indiana's got some they got some references. We got Stranger Things set in Indiana, The Substance, The
We had also
Sequel.
watched Close Encounters of the Third Kind,
Mm,
like close after that,
yeah,
and it
it's set in
was like,
Indiana. Ball
what?
State. Shout out to Muncie.
Shout out to Muncie, Indiana.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, crazy year. We had some big ones that I don't know. Megalopolis was
Don't even.
was
That
a
movie makes me so mad. I don't even want to talk about it.
that was a flop. Um
Ugh.
Favorite movies. I mean, Gladiator 2 was a big one. I like Gladiator 2 a lot. It disappointed a lot of people. I mean, did it need to exist? Probably not, but I had a fun time with it.
hmm I
Um,
think Strange Darling was one that deserved more attention. I really like that one.
that was a really cool movie. It was like
Yeah.
told out of order, which is really interesting. It's basically like a kind of a slasher movie, I guess, but told out
Yeah.
of order, which is really unique. And it worked. Really cool. Juror number two. Now, this is a movie that needs to be said. It's streaming on Max now, so anybody can watch it. For some reason, it did not have any releases. Like there's less than 50 theaters in the country that showed this movie. And it's one of the best movies of the entire year.
Yeah.
Clint Eastwood movie, a great cast. Like, how did this not get played in theaters?
I don't know. And like, I was looking through the reviews for it earlier for people that I follow, and so many people don't like this movie. And they're like, oh, it's
Hmm.
so cliche. I'm like, is it really?
I mean, yeah, it's
But,
it's
you
like
know,
it's not like super in depth or anything, but it's such a cool premise that like
yeah.
it's really cool to see play out. It's like one of the best thrillers of the year.
hmm
Nicholas Hoult is having a year.
Yeah, he sure is.
He's in everything. Him and Kieran Shipka have just been in everything,
Yeah,
I
she
think.
just keeps showing up in everything that I'm watching. Like I saw The
Yeah,
Last Showgirl the other day and I was like, oh,
like
there
good
you
for
are.
those two. Yeah, Nicholas Hoult is incredible in this movie. Shout out to Tony from Skins, where he got to start. Anyway, Juror number two, go watch it. It's so good.
Yeah.
Um,
I guess
okay.
another, sorry, go ahead.
Nope, go ahead.
Um, One that I'm sure shocked us all, Better Man
Oh
with
yeah.
Robbie Williams as the CGI
Yes.
monkey was
This
really good.
this needs to be talked about because there is a hate train on TikTok right now because all these Americans are like, we don't know who Robbie Williams is. Shut up. You're not a pop star. You're not one of the famous people in the world. It doesn't matter. I don't want to watch a movie about a CGI monkey. Well, first of all, he's an ape. But anyway, Better Man, you don't need to know who Robbie Williams is. You don't even need to know like his music. I still don't think his music's that good. But watching this movie, it was so well done. It was emotional.
hmm
It was the musical numbers were really
They were
good,
so good.
visually insane. Like this movie flopped, and I think that's expected. It
Yeah.
was had a such a big budget, which probably I don't know how it got that big of a budget because they should have known. But if you do watch this movie, it is really good. So
Yeah.
shout out to Robbie Williams, shout out to Better Man. Probably the biggest surprise of the entire year. Okay, so I'm gonna mention a movie that I think I'm the only person who's ever heard of this movie and the only person who watched this movie. And it's in my top 20 of the year. Snack Shack.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't watch that yet.
It's about basically about some kids in Nebraska who run a snack shack and it's a coming of age story and usually that's typically my favorite genre of movies. I love coming of age movies and
hmm
this one's a lot of fun. It's got the guy who played Lorne Michaels in
Oh.
Saturday Night. So he's this year he's simultaneously playing a like what a 17-year-old and however old Lorne Michaels was during Saturday Night, which I think is a lot older. So anyway, really fun movie. Snack Shack. Check it out. I think it's on Prime,
Yeah,
possibly.
because it's been sitting on my watch list for a couple months.
Yeah, one of the biggest out of nowhere movies of the year for me. I loved it.
Yeah, I'm gonna give a shout out to one that also I don't think a lot of people have enjoyed, but I liked. I thought Baby Girl was good.
Oh, people have liked this movie.
Really? A lot of the
Yeah,
people
this is
I've
a
seen
hit.
have been like,
No,
"Eh."
this is a hit. People love it. And some people don't,
um,
but it
of all
was
the movies for AMC to not play the Nicole Kidman ad before,
mm,
they chose this one. And as soon as
really
the movie starts, the guy behind me goes, "What?"
wow.
Because they didn't play the ad. But anyway,
Dang.
I thought it was good. Um, yeah, I mean, we got Nicole Kidman, so I can't complain.
Yeah, that was it was a really cool movie because like it was the style of it was really really cool. Like it was a really intense movie
hmm
and like it was really funny too. Like the way what's his name who plays the guy in this movie?
Harris
Har Harris Dickinson?
Dickerson?
Harris Dickinson, yes. He was so good at like being like oblivious to why like Nicole Kidman's character was like reacting in certain ways. Just like playing dumb the whole thing. It was so good. But
Yeah,
yeah, Baby Girl, what a movie. That was
yeah.
a I wasn't surprised how good it was because I heard it was gonna be good
hmm
before it came out. But one of the best needle drops of the year for me, the NXS song, one of my
Yeah.
favorite songs. That was a fun
I liked
scene.
all the like Eyes Wide Shut references and like the set design too. I thought that was cool.
Hmm, I didn't even notice that.
Um,
Yeah, Baby Girl, crazy movie.
yeah.
Another movie I want to mention that's I think before Better Man came out, this was my shock of the year. And now that I'm thinking back, I think this probably still might be my shock of the year because from the trailers, I thought this looked awful. Looked like the most generic movie, looked terrible, and I was tired of seeing the trailer before it came out. But Speak No Evil
Oh
was
yeah.
a ton of fun. James McAvoy was just like I kind of mentioned about Harris Dickinson, the way he like uses his mannerisms in this movie was just so funny. Like one of
Yeah.
the fun like it was marketed as this horror movie and kind of like a supernatural or like maybe demonic type of horror movie, but this movie was a comedy. And I'm not even
Yeah.
like kidding about that. Like it's actually a comedy for probably 60% of the movie, then it turns into a thriller. Like it's not a horror movie at all.
Yeah. I yeah, that was also probably up there with Better Man of my biggest shocks of the year.
Hmm.
Um, just the amount of times we saw that trailer, it was almost like the Argyle trailer. It's like every single time that thing came on, I was just like, oh my God. And then seeing billboards for it everywhere. And I was just like, I need this movie to come out so I could just watch it and then never have to see it again. And then when we left the theater, I was like, why was that movie actually really good?
Yeah, because me personally, I'm not a huge fan of horror movies, and I've gotten a lot better at watching horror movies lately. But like the all like the demon possession type of stuff, that stuff is not for me. And this movie looked like it was gonna go in that direction from the trailers. So
Yeah.
by the marketing, it was gonna completely like make me not watch this movie. Like I almost just didn't watch it because of it. But I'm like, well, whatever. I'm curious because I want to see how bad it is. And it was a ton of fun. And one of not one of my favorites of the year, but it's up there. Like it was really fun. Like the Cotton Eye Joe scene was just I
Oh
was
my
like
God.
laughing out loud like 7 different times in that whole scene. It was so funny. And another funny part, if you don't know, this is a remake of a Danish movie, and I need to watch that because now I'm curious. But there's a scene where there's like a Danish couple like where they're at and they're like making fun of them, which is just so funny because they stole this movie from Denmark and then they're
Oh.
making fun of the Danish couple in the movie. I just think that was a funny little nod to that. But I don't know. I think this might be my shocker of the year. Better Man's second, but this is my shocker of the year.
Yeah. I guess since it's right next to it on my ranking, I also really like Trap, the new
Oh
Shyamalan
yeah.
movie.
Trap
That
was
was a
so
lot
fun
of
too.
fun.
It was fun in like a similar vein that Speak No Evil was. Like
Yeah.
just goofy, like Trap was like watching a live action cartoon in a way.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, yes.
here's what I've been saying for like the past few months. If I were to if I voted, if I was the only voter in the Oscars, the best actor category would be Timothy Chalamet would be two. He'd get one for Dune and one for Complete Unknown. Adrian Brody, I'll throw him in there. But Josh Hartnett from Trap and James McAvoy would round out my top five. I think those are my top five best actors of the year. They were so good. And Josh
Yeah.
Hartnett in Trap was so fun.
Yeah. That was such a fun movie and I I think we knew from the trailers that we're like, well, it's not going to be like, a cinematic masterpiece or anything, but it's like still going to be a lot of fun, so I don't really care,
Well, yeah,
you know.
it's straight up camp, and
Yeah.
people who hate fun are not gonna like this movie. So all the people
Yeah.
complaining is like, "Oh, this is stupid. It's like so unserious." Like, learn to have some fun. Stop taking things so
Yeah.
seriously. This Shyamalan knew exactly what he was doing with this, and he nailed it. And Kid Cudi was such an unexpected part of this movie that I didn't even know he was in this movie when he showed up and the character he played. Just watch the movie. It's fun.
I also
Yeah.
like the subtle billboard that they have for the Watchers in
Yeah,
this
because that's
movie.
yeah, that's his daughter's movie, so
Yeah,
it's
even though this
that was
came
cool.
out after the Watchers came out.
Yeah, that was funny. I like
That's
that.
fun.
Um, there's so many other movies I really want to mention, but I think we've talked about the big ones. I'll mention a few just rapid fire that don't get a lot of attention, but Dee Dee was another coming of age movie. Absolutely hilarious. Love that movie. Piece by Piece, the Pharrell Williams Lego documentary was actually really good. That was a shock too. Some other ones that stand out. I didn't absolutely think Civil War is an absolute masterpiece, but it was one of the most intense movies I feel like I've ever watched. It was like it felt like you were in the movie in some scenes. It was really cool. What else? I mean,
Yeah.
that's about all I need to mention, I think. There's a lot of movies that I want to mention, but
Okay.
we don't have time to mention 80 movies on here.
Yeah. Have another 2-hour episode doing that.
Yep.
Um, I guess for me, The First Omen was really good. Religious horror is one of my favorite like genres of movies. And I haven't seen any of the other Omen movies, but it's a prequel. Um, and it was really good. Honestly, that one and Immaculate, which I know a lot of people didn't like Immaculate, but I really enjoyed it. Those two are really good. Um, and then I guess the last one I'll talk about is I really loved A Real Pain with
Oh,
Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin. Kieran Culkin's taken that Oscar, as
you
far
know
as I'm
what?
concerned.
You know what?
Um,
I didn't put that on my ranked
what?
list. That's missing. Wow. Okay. I
That's
felt
crazy. We
like
got to
there's
fix
something
that.
missing. Okay. I don't know where that'd slide in, but it would be near the top. I loved it.
Yeah. You
Jesse
gotta watch
Eisenberg
it.
and
It's now
then
streaming on Hulu.
yeah. Jesse Eisenberg's wearing an IU hat for like half the movie for like no reason. I think it's hilarious.
Oh my God. And the funnier thing was, um, the two of us and then one other person we went to go see it with showed up in our Indiana gear because we thought it was a live Q&A with Jesse Eisenberg, and it turned out it was pre-recorded. We were like,
Yeah.
okay.
They did a lot of live Q&As around LA, but for some reason when you click on it, it didn't say pre-recorded until you like scroll and click like three more buttons, but yeah, whatever.
Hmm.
Whatever. But yeah, really fun movie. I think I have to mention a few more. It's just Flow. Flow is incredible. It's a movie about animals that are like trying to survive a flood, and there's no dialogue, no
Hmm.
humans, and it was incredibly made. So fun. I'm kind of rooting
And it
it
had a
for
black
best
cat.
anim. I'm kind of rooting for
I
best animated feature at this point, I think.
think it's gotta be either that or The Wild Robot.
For me, Piece by Piece and Flow are my two favorite animated movies of the year. The Wild Robot just behind or on the same level, but yeah, those three. But Inside Out 2 is actually the same level too, actually. So I don't know. Some good
Yeah.
animated movies this year. I think oh no. I had to mention one more movie because another shocker that was not expecting whenever the first one came out, Smile. Smile 2 came out this year. And Smile
Yeah.
came out a couple years ago, and again the trailers just look so bad. And I'm like, no way this movie's good. And I didn't even end up watching Smile when it came out, but I heard it was good, so it's been on my watch list but never got around to it. And when I heard Smile 2 was even better and amazing, I'm like, okay, I gotta watch it. And it was really cool. It's a really fun movie. I
Yeah.
I will say I hate jump scares and it's a very jump scary movie, but like it was really good, surprisingly.
Yeah, I saw that, and there were a couple jump scares in there that really got me. Like there's one with like eyes that look like headlights that
Mm.
freaked me out. And as soon as I got out of that movie, I'm like, man, Freddie's gonna hate those jump scares.
Oh, I absolutely hate jump scares. That's why I didn't watch it in theaters because I cannot do jump scares like that. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Smile 2 is really good though. I wound up giving it 4.5 after thinking about it for a while. Um, yeah, really good.
yep. I have to mention Y2K because people are hating on this movie. I loved Y2K. It was so fun, campy. I love that type
Yeah.
of stuff. Like throwback to the 2000s stuff. I was born in 2000, so I wasn't alive during Y2K, but like all like the old technology and stuff was fun to see. The 2000s music was a lot of fun. And the last movie I'll mention, The Real Bros of Simi Valley, came
Oh
back
Lord.
with the movie. So funny. If you've never heard of this, it was a show. I don't know if it released, I think originally on like Facebook Watch when that was a thing. And then it
Oh
like ended up
God.
going to just like YouTube. And it's Jimmy Tatro, who if you haven't seen him, he's in season 1 of American Vandal and he's big on YouTube. He's so funny in everything he plays. And this movie is basically, I think the last season of the show came like a few years ago, but they're back and they go to like their high school reunion. And basically a big plot point of this is uh Jimmy's character is wanting to have like the biggest truck at his high school reunion. And the other guy he's competing with is named Jathew with the J.
Oh
And
my
it's the
Lord.
best named character, I think, in history of movies. So funny. Glad to see the real
That's
bros back on my
an insane
screen.
name.
Yes. So good. All right. Well, there's so many more movies I want to talk about, but those are the big ones. One more. I have to throw one more in. I saw the TV glow. I loved it. A lot of people didn't. I was in a trance that whole movie. That's all I'll say. I loved it. Most people didn't. Actually, it's very, I think it's 50-50. You loved it or hate it. But that's the last thing I'll say. And Nosferatu and Longlegs I liked a lot. And Fall Guy and Saturday Night and Alien Romulus. Alien franchise is back. It's back and it is back on track to being good. Okay.
Side note, Alien Romulus was really fun in theaters because like it was a packed house, and when a certain something came on the screen at the end, and the whole theater just went, ugh.
Yeah, one of the biggest shocks of the year, visually scary. Anyway, yeah, had to throw that in there. But we had Deadpool and Wolverine. We had no, I'm kidding. I'm not
Oh
gonna keep
my
going. I'm not gonna
God.
keep
If
going.
you want
But
to see the rest of our rankings, you can go to
yes,
our separate letterbox lists. We
true.
both have 2024 ranked, and they will be uh links in the description box.
But
So you
shout
can
out
go
to
check it out.
Kneecap though, for real. Like Irish Rappers, really good movie. The 430 movie, Kevin Smith movie, another coming of age movie is really good. But that's the last thing I'll say. Anyway, I really want to show you this tiny little Grogu. Did you know they made Funko Pops this small? They're little tiny guys.
I
Look at
also have
that.
a tiny Grogu in my room, but he's in a box somewhere, and I don't feel like going to fish him out right
Look at
now.
that. Look how small
Oh,
he
I
is.
do have a tiny Funko Pop. I have a teeny tiny Rizzo the Rat from the Muppet Christmas Carol.
Like, look,
He's like the
here's
size of my thumb.
here's a normal sized Funko Pop. There's the normal box, and here's the tiny Grogu for comparison. And the
Oh my
funny thing is,
God.
you can actually take these out.
That is the tiniest. Oh my
Look at
God.
them. Look at them.
That is so teeny tiny. Where did you even find that?
Well, they're everywhere. Target, I think. But yeah. Anyway, it's been fun. It's been a year. It felt like not the best year, but it had some really solid things. Like there's only like a handful of movies that I just didn't like. So
Yeah.
2024 has been a year. We'll see where we're at in 2025. There's a lot of big movies coming out in 2025, so it's an exciting year.
Hmm.
Um, we shall see. But
Yeah.
catch us next time on another episode of That Sure Was a Movie.